There's no snow outside today. That's good. I'm trying this new thing where I don't start the show for like 30 seconds after I go live so people get the notification. Alrighty. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, May 15th, 2019. My name's Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. It's a new grind, roast variety type from Vermont Coffee Company. It's a light roast, but it says duo on it. I don't know what that means, but it's tasty. I really like their stuff. You know, we're so blessed here in Vermont. We have amazing beer and coffee and, believe it or not, wine and spirits. For those of you that are young, spirits or hard alcohol, rum and such. And of course, the world's best ice cream, Ben & Jerry's, and Vermont Teddy Bear Factory. We do some utterly amazing things here in this tiny little state of 630,000 people. It's crazy. So, hope everybody had a great Tuesday. I got a lot done. Not as much as I wanted to. Honestly, last night, 2 nights ago, sleeping Monday night was as poor as that was. I didn't have a good day yesterday. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was exhausted. I did not go to the gym. Didn't work out at all other than a little bit at home. I've been practicing push-ups, for those of you that don't know, and I am up to consistently doing sets of 25. Chest all the way to the ground. Do that several times a day. I started at 10. Just, 3 to 5 times a day. Just enough that you don't get sore, but your body starts to adapt. It takes just a couple minutes. It's the idea of the 2-minute martial arts programming that we've got going on. I haven't talked about that much. We've got a big reveal coming, but if you head to training.whistlekick.com, you can check it out. What else is happening? That's today. I'm going to talk about today in a minute. Today's kind of an important day. Yesterday, I just did errands and chores. Had a wonderful interview for Martial Arts Radio. I enjoy all of them. I like all of the guests. But of course, that's to varying degrees. Yesterday was the first time in a while that I found myself delaying the end of the interview because I wanted to keep talking to this guy. All I'll say is that he has a very unique connection to Bruce Lee, and his perspective on that connection is different than what I would have expected. It'll be out in a few weeks. It'll be episode 406. So today, as soon as I am done with this, right about 8 o'clock, I'll be in the car, and I will be driving to southern New Hampshire for a memorial service, where I will be giving one of the eulogies for a woman who helped raise me. She's been gone a while now. It's been, is it December? It's been 5 or 6 months. She was kind of a grandmother figure for a number of years. And when I think about a number of the things that are important to me, like gardening, she helped me. She taught me really everything I know. As a writer, she gave me advice. She was just this wonderful, kind, compassionate person who, honestly, I lost touch with when I went to college. And I reached back out to her daughter, who is about parent age for me. and said, I'd love to talk to her again. And she let me know her mind had gone, but she gave me a phone number and an address, and I called her one day. This was a couple years ago. And we had a great talk. She didn't remember who I was. Not a bit. She believed that I knew her. She knew that her mind had gone. But we talked about things that we talked about things she remembered. And we got to one particular moment where I remembered a detail of something. And she remembered that detail, but more importantly, she could tell I wasn't someone who just was casually in her life. Because in order to know that detail, I would have had to be someone that mattered. Had to have been. And we laughed, and I hung up the phone, and I just cried. And I'm fighting tears now. So that's today. Of course, I had to rearrange my day, my typical Wednesday for this. So there's a chance I get to go to Taekwondo on the way back through, which I would love. And if I'm still breathing, I'll go to the gym after that. We'll see what happens. Had some questions come in on yesterday's episode. Let's talk about those. This is a very nutty flavor. Okay, what we got? This question comes in from Tanya yesterday. How would you work with a student that had a hard time remembering because of a disability? How would you advise someone to teach like that? Now, I don't know necessarily that the hard time remembering has to be because of a disability. I've worked with some people who have tremendous memory issues. But I think anytime I try to teach someone something and they have a hard time learning it, I try to attack it from as many different angles as I can. So let's use the example of teaching a form, because that's a pretty concrete example, and honestly, it's something where a lot of people struggle. Different people learn different ways. Different people forget in different ways. Some people learn physically, some people learn by watching, some people learn by hearing, some people learn by saying. So one of the things that we do in the Kempo Jiu-Jitsu Eskrima school that I train in is there is what we call singing for each form. We say what the movements are, and it's a wonderful, wonderful training tool. It's weird, I'm not gonna lie. It feels weird to do that, but I have watched what it has done for some of the children and for some of the other people in the class. Now, I won't lie, I learn forms pretty quickly. I'm pretty lucky in that way. But I've seen people who don't get to a certain point, they remember the words, but not the movement. So they can say the word, and then you can see them kind of search and figure out where they need to go next. When we teach anything in martial arts class, we tend to teach it pretty much the same way to everyone. We tend to forget that different people learn differently. So if I had someone that was particularly challenged at remembering, here's what I would do. I would make sure they had videos that I approved of, whether they were from me or my system or not, probably on YouTube, of what the movement or the form was so they could watch it. I would talk them through the movements, probably audibly, have them record that. I would make sure they had it on paper in some way, probably the movements and their order, maybe even pictures of the movements. I would video them doing the thing correctly, or at least correct enough, and make sure they had that. And then for the actual, the physical part, the kinesthetic part, I would break it down. I would break it down a ton. So let's say a form has 40 movements. If I ask you to memorize a set of 40 things, you're going to have a hard time with that. But if I ask you to remember 10 sets of 4, that becomes fairly easy. Here are these 4 movements. Let's do these 4 movements. Do these 4 movements. Keep doing these 4 movements. And having people do it over and over and over. Have them face different directions in the physical space where you're training. Give those movements names. Talk them through it. Have them say it. Have them lead it. You lead it. When they've got that 4, maybe you add another 4. And then you're doing this new 4, but you bounce back and forth with the old 4, and then you're starting to connect all 8. That may work. The easiest way I've ever found to teach a form, and this may or may not work, I take the class, I do the first movement, I do the first movement, I do the first movement, I do the first and second movement, first and second, first and second, first, second, third, first, second, third, first, second, third, first, second, third, fourth. And I keep doing that way, adding a single movement until everybody that's with me gets it. And then we add one more movement. The reason that's different from what I observe a lot of instructors doing is that they will add multiple movements at a time. They're looking for where it makes sense to take the next break. That doesn't necessarily work for the way people learn. I can take nearly anyone, teach them nearly any form in less than an hour with this method. In fact, you give me 20 minutes and I'll teach most people a basic to intermediate form and they'll remember it. For some reason, and I can't explain this mentally, psychologically, whatever, having the momentum of the earlier movements tends to reinforce muscle memory. I don't know about you, but when I have a hard time with a form, it's where it starts, the first couple movements. If I get the first couple movements, I'm good. And since in this method, that's what you practice the most, it seems to work. Feel free to steal that idea. I'm not saying I originated it, but I don't know where I got it from. And I'm sure you can come up with other ways to support someone's learning of anything. The more methods you use and the more you use simultaneously, the better. The one that we didn't talk about was having them, no, I said having them lead it, having them talk it through. You learn a lot when you teach. All right, 2 more questions. What is your favorite whistlekick product? Yes, we have the store at whistlekick.com. What's my favorite product? I know it's May, but it did just snow yesterday. I would say my favorite right now is the gold edition Never Settle hoodie because it's like ridiculously soft. Justin, who is on the team and a brand ambassador, and he's become a good friend. He's a great guy, good young man. He ordered it before I did, and I saw him wearing it. And I went, "Oh, let me see," and he doesn't take it off because it's so comfy. It's a great fabric. You can check that out at the store. What else we got? Last question for the day. If you could have any car you wanted, what car would you choose? To a certain degree, this depends on the day. But the car that I have most consistently said that I wanted is some manner of that first generation Ford Mustang, which is interesting because I'm not a Ford guy. That 64 and a half, 65 Ford Mustang, even the 66, 67s. I know it's not all exactly the same car, but they're just so beautiful. And of course, when you talk about that car, the best prototypical example of that car is the GT350 from Gone in 60 Seconds, the car Eleanor. In fact, you can talk to any person who's a fan of cars and say, my dream car is Eleanor, and everyone knows what you're talking about from that movie, and I think that's neat. Um, I love cars. If I had my way, I would probably have like a rotating garage of cars. Because cars, like people, like martial arts forms, like styles, all have personalities. And I enjoy exploring those personalities. The car I have right now, it's a Mazda 3 all-wheel drive. It's fun. Is it as fun as the FRS I used to have? No. It's more practical. I paid $18 when I filled up the car with gas yesterday. That was awesome. But I feel like the more I drive, the more different cars I drive, the better a driver I get. The more forms I learn, the better I am at forms. The more different martial arts systems I train in, the better I get at martial arts. The more people I interact with, the better I get at understanding people. There's something in that diversity that I really value. Other cars that I really like? I'd love a big old Land Cruiser at some point. I miss my 4Runner. Land Cruiser is really the only thing that's a step up from that as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. All right, let's start winding down here. Homework coming in a minute. Stay tuned. Don't forget, we do this show every weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you get that little ringy dingy when we start doing the show. I hit go at 6:30 every Monday through Friday. I'm trying to give you 30 seconds now to see if that makes a difference. So you can come on, you can have your first cup of coffee with me. If you miss the show live, if you want to check it out later, you can do it in video or audio. Of course, here on YouTube or at firstcupwithjeremy.com. If you want to do the audio, just search First Cup with Jeremy in your podcast feed. You'll catch that there. Homework. I'd like you to consider the ways that you learn, the ways that you understand the world, whether that's martial arts or anything else that is complex. The way you learn isn't necessarily the way everyone else learns. But the more you understand about how you learn, the better a student you can be. And the better you understand about being a student, the more you'll learn, the faster you'll progress, and the better you'll be able to help others. Eventually, you'll become an instructor. And you'll be a better instructor because of that time focused on how to be a good student. It's not just about trying hard and practicing at home. It's about understanding what makes you tick, what works well, what doesn't, and if necessary, if appropriate, share that with the instructors. Here's how I learn best. Doesn't mean you're asking them to change things, but you're giving them information. You're teaching them how to teach you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you back.